Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Wallsend history story. This week I am focusing on stories from the Willington Quay area. Some stories may be longer than others, and all are from various different years, and they're not in any particular order. And just like the Wallsend tales from the past, they may be about people, places, buildings, etc. I hope you will enjoy it and find it interesting. Most of the time, when anyone mentions Kitty in connection with Willington Quay, people automatically think of Kitty the Mill Ghost. However, there was another famous Kitty from Willington Quay, and this one was Kitty the Donkey. From 1914 to 1918, Kitty, who was owned by Mr. Foster of Argyle Street in Willington Quay, helped to raise funds for various different charities and also relief funds. It's not entirely clear how the funds were raised, but certainly one way was by leading Kitty round the streets and selling postcards of her from door to door. It seems like this was very popular, and on one occasion this raised over £60 in 1916, and just to show how really good that was, in today's money that would be over £6,500, so it really was a successful campaign. What is strange though is that lots of postcards must have been sold, but hardly any of them still exist today. Kitty was often seen pulling a little trap behind her, so it is possible that this was also used to raise funds, maybe by offering children a short ride in the trap for a donation to the cause. And Kitty travelled about for her fundraising too, as she was often found in Hebburn, raising funds at things like the cycle, horse and sports parade that took place in May of 1916. Sadly, I was not able to find out what happened to Kitty after her fundraising days, but let's hope that she did manage to have a nice retirement in a field somewhere in Willington Quay, as she had certainly earned it. Washing day in the past wasn't always a simple job. In 1901, two ladies, who we will call Kate L. and Ellen, who lived in Ravensworth Street in Willington Quay and were sisters, found themselves in court for fighting with another lady by the name of Kate B. It would seem that Ellen had decided she would try and pull down Kate B's washing line and also pull the clothes off the line. Kate B was obviously not happy about this, and a fight broke out, resulting in Kate L hitting Kate B. It's quite hard to get these Kate L's and Kate B's in the right order, which resulted in Kate L hitting Kate B in the face with some curling pins. It would seem that in the past, Kate L and Ellen had allowed Kate B to use their washing space, but on this day they decided they needed it, and apparently they had asked Kate B to remove her washing, but she had refused to do so and had become abusive. And Kate B's grandfather had even tried to hit one of the other girls with a shovel. The magistrates clearly felt this case was a bit of a lost cause with faults on both sides, and in the end they decided to dismiss the case. However, I doubt Kate B ever tried to hang her washing on the same line again after that. And it seems that this washing area was a good spot for fights, as in court on the same day was a lady by the name of Sarah, who also lived in Ravensworth Street near the previous three women, who had attacked a lady by the name of Catherine. Catherine was attempting to hang out her washing when Sarah attacked her with a stick, saying she would not allow her to hang her clothes on the line. Catherine claimed that Sarah had also pulled out some of her hair. Sarah then said that Catherine had attacked her and was not as innocent as she looked. Once more, the magistrates felt this was a case of both being as bad as each other, and the case again was dismissed. In 1900, an article appeared in the local papers discussing many things to do with the Willington Quay area, mainly where Willington Mill now stands, and one of the subjects was a man by the name of Billy Martin. It would seem that he was very well known in the area in the 1800s and was somewhat of an eccentric character. And it was said that he was quite jealous of the fame of Robert Stevenson, and so he had given out cards in the area stating that he had been the man who had designed the high-level bridge in Newcastle, which of course was untrue, as it had been Robert Stevenson. Whether or not the people of Willington Quay believed the claims of Billy was never really known, but it seems most just thought he was a bit of a character and took everything he said with a pinch of salt. I did try to do a little search into Billy's past, but sadly wasn't able to find anything else out about him. So if anyone listening does know anything, do please let me know. Also in the 1900 newspaper article, it was stated that a very little known fact at that time, which was at the time in 1900, was that George Stevenson had once worked in the rope works at Willington Quay. He had not been there on a permanent basis, he was just helping out when someone else had been sick and unable to work for a few weeks. Finally, this week, the story of a young man by the name of William Briggs, who had decided that 13 was his lucky number. And it seems he had good reason to believe this. William, who was 17 years old in 1942 and lived in Buick Road in Willington Quay, had been working as a merchant service cabin boy. His ship had been torpedoed and sank by a German U-boat, and William had been one of the lucky survivors, and the story goes like this. William, along with 12 other men from the ship, was able to escape on a raft, and 13 days later they were rescued, and William came home on the 13th ship that he had been on during his most recent time at sea. So this had made him quite sure that 13 was indeed a lucky number for him. He was later interviewed at his home at Buick Road and told how he and his raft mates had spent the first 2 nights singing songs, hymns and praying. They had very little in the way of food and had 2 pieces of chocolate, 2 biscuits and a small measure of rum each every few hours. They were, with the aid of a compass, trying to head towards the Russian coast, each man using his hands to try and propel the raft in the direction they wanted to go. However, they did not find the land they were hoping for, but did find a small island and headed towards it. They stayed there for 2 days, collecting eggs and cooking ducks to gather fresh provisions to be able to set out to sea again. They were back at sea for a further 3 days before they were sighted by a French destroyer, which at the time was apparently manned by British sailors, and they were then rescued and taken to Russia. William said that during their 13 days on the raft, not one man ever gave up hope, all believing they would either be rescued at sea or that they would finally make it to land safely. It was several weeks before the men were able to return back to the UK, as most of them were quite ill by the time they were rescued, but all survived and were given a month off once back in the UK, apparently known as survivor's leave, before they would return to duties. William said that before he joined up, he had been working as an apprentice boilermaker at one of the local shipyards, and he had only been in the merchant navy for around 1 year. He ended his interview by saying that his greatest regret was getting his friend Stanley, who also lived in Buick Road, a job on the same ship as himself. Stanley was younger than William at only 16 years old, but had wanted to go to sea like his friend. And William said after the ship had been torpedoed they had become separated, and Stanley had left on another raft and had not been seen since. And William feared that he had been lost at sea. And sadly, William was right, as I found the details of Stanley's death in July of 1942, where he was listed as a cabin boy, aged 16, the son of Charles and Eleanor of Willington Quay. Unfortunately, I was not able to find any further details for William after 1942. However, I did find one man called William Briggs, who was born in the same year as our 17-year-old William, who died in 1988 at the age of 63 and is buried at Whitley Bay Cemetery. I do not know if he ever married, but let's hope that this story at the end about him living until he was 63, let's hope this means that William did survive the rest of the war. This last story was a little longer than the others, but I did feel that it was a fascinating tale and one which deserved to be told. And I do hope that you have found it and the others in the video interesting. And I am sorry because I don't know why, but I did make quite a few mistakes this morning when I was recording this, and I think that's just one of those things sometimes I do. But anyway, I do hope that you have enjoyed the video, and I do thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again very soon.